squinting not because of the sun in my eyes, but because of your brilliance looking at me right now.
Train the muscles, not the joints.
Welcome back to Natural Land Bodybuilding. Mountain. But one thing I want to talk about today is somebody just asked me about their frequency in their training. And they talked about how they were doing some high frequency training, kind of like I recommend for a lot of people, but not everybody, but a lot of people. And this guy was saying that he burns out and he overtrains really quickly, and he found that he gets more results from just training at a much lower amount of frequency. So maybe he trained the body part once every 4 or 5 days or whatever. I'm not sure exactly what he was saying, but it sounded like more like a bro split or 3 or 4 day split or something like that. And you know, one thing I want to say is that it doesn't matter how good a principle might be, you know, whether it's weight or whether it's amount of sets in a workout or whether it's amount of reps or whatever, you can always get too much of a good thing. I guess my point is you have a lot of power, you know, just like I'm out here in a windstorm right now. The sun is hitting my face and there's trees blowing all over the place, and power's great. One could argue that these trees being moved around a bit will help destabilize the roots enough that then the roots can get extra nourishment and then expand and restabilize. But if the wind is too strong, or if you could say the trunk bends too much, then the tree itself snaps, and then of course there's no potential for growth. And then there's the point to where too much range of motion just snaps you, and that's not good for anybody. I'm just hoping these trees snap in a different direction than directly on me. So it's always about what is enough for you to stimulate the body so that it adapts. And for some people, less is going to work better than more. So we could talk about this when it comes down to frequency. Some people, they may adapt better if they train the body part once every 3 or 4 days or less or whatever. I never adapted well with that, but that might be your thing. That might be something that is relevant for you. So it's the same thing with weight. Like some people, they'll say, I can do weight that's heavy enough to hit failure in 8 to 12 reps, and that's enough to gain a certain amount of strength and muscle. But somebody else can come along and say they need a bit more weight. They need to, you know, use intensities from 6 to 8 reps, or they might need to use higher repetitions, which means less weight. So more repetitions and less weight. They might need to do that. Or they might need to not go as intense to failure. You know, meaning like fatigue might not be something they want to have as much of, right? So they just need a little bit of fatigue, but not quite so much fatigue, and they're better off doing lots of sets, but those sets not hitting failure. So it's always about finding that right combination. And I think that most of the time, all of it will work. Everything will work for you, but you're going to come to these periods of time where something no longer works, and then you start to play around with these variables a bit. And I think there's nothing wrong with you backing off a little bit, taking an extra few days off, and then returning back to the drawing board and starting off easy and easing yourself into the training. You know, maybe do something totally off the cuff, like something different. Say you're doing 2 day splits, then do a bro split for a bit and see if that's the variable you need to back off on. Is it frequency? Or if you're doing high frequency and not getting results, maybe you're doing way too much volume. Maybe just back off and just do 2 or 3 sets or 1 set or whatever it is, and then see what happens. And if nothing's happening, then change something else. But it's a continual experiment. And I wish I could say to you that it doesn't continue. It does continue throughout your life because your body's changing. Your body changes all the time, and it adapts better to some forms of stimulation than others at different times in your life. And that's why it's most important to be vigilant, you know, keep your eyes open, even though the sun is glaring upon you, you know, keep your eyes open and observe. So what's working for me now is a combination of a lot of easy workouts, full body or close to it, and then some days of 2 day splits that are pretty intense, like heavier weight, you know, 8 to 12 reps with decent amount of weight when it comes down to pressing movements, or, you know, 10 to 15 reps when it comes to squats. And I just need to throw those in here and there. Once every 5 or 6 workouts, I don't need to throw them in all the time. And I find I get the best result that way, but I still need to take days off. You know, I find I still get burned out. It's amazing how lightweight can still burn you out, even if you're not taking the sets to failure, even if you're not doing a lot of volume. And this is really what I'm trying to say, is that frequency, even easy weight, can still be very intense on the body. So it might seem like you're not doing a lot when you're doing high frequency, especially if you're doing a really low intensity type of workout, not taking the stuff to failure, just going through the easy movements, right? You're still going to need time off, because frequency is its own form of intensity. And that's something that I've learned, right? I've done lightweight, you know, for myself, and trained every day with a movement for a period of time, and then it all goes well, and then all of a sudden, you know, 5 or 6 days later, this stuff starts to go sideways, right? Where the body's like, I still need recovery. So even if you do buy into the whole frequency thing being the best thing for you, still take those days off. Still realize that rest is still important, and it's about finding that right combination of the rest and the intensity and the frequency and so forth. And yeah, just keep experimenting. That's really the best advice I can give you, is just to keep experimenting and see where you're getting the results. And sometimes it's good to start conservatively. Sometimes less is more. I know it sounds like a cliche, but it's true. Sometimes you just can get away with doing less and at the same time have a better amount of well-being in the body in the process and not beat it to hell, right? Because yeah, the body can get beat to hell for a bit, but then it starts to fight back. And then when that happens, you know, the training just goes sideways. So you don't want that to happen. But yeah, that's all I got to say about that today. I hope this helps out in your training. Thanks a lot for watching. If you need to get a hold of me, just go to naturalgalantbodybuilding.com, and thanks to the Patreon supporters, and take care for now. Mountain.